Video manual of the DJ patch that I've created using Max 7. With the hardware device, you will need to connect the Arduino to the computer via USB. The Arduino is found inside the red box with the bubble wrap. It's quite visible if you look through to connect to USB. Once you've connected to USB, then you'll be able to, should be able to scan the serial ports using this function here, and then use this button here to select the appropriate COM port which the Arduino is communicating on, and then finally initialize the hardware button. And once you've done that, you'll see that the values of the hardware will then be represented within the software. So this patch may look a bit complicated at first sight, however it is actually quite easy to understand once you understand the principles. In order to do that, first of all we'll think about DJing using turntables. Usually in a setup you'll have two turntables and a mixer in between them. Unfortunately in a virtual DJ situation you don't get that option, so you must replicate that the functions that you get with the vinyl within a digital fashion. So the first thing we'll do is look at channel A. Now channel A is a basic audio source from where you can load in audio tracks for which then you can control the speed, the transport, when and where you play it from, as you can do with a normal vinyl setup. So we'll just go through some of the functions. The first one I'd just like to talk about is this one here, sound on and off. This is the sound card function, so you can turn the sound card on and off if required. So the first thing you probably want to be doing is to be getting some audio into this player here, or you could call it a deck, channel A. And one of the things that you can do is you can drag an audio file into there. As you can see, as it comes in, the waveform display here around here gets a blue outline, or you can click on open audio file. This will open up the file manager and you can select an audio file to open. One thing to note is that when you actually find or locate a folder that you wish to use, after you locate that, the next time that you open an audio file it will automatically jump to that folder, which is quite a useful feature for those DJs who like to have their sets within just one folder. So this isn't a particularly good example, because our next thing to do is create a cue point. So I'm just going to bring in this file. You can see straight away we get this long line across the middle. There's no errors or anything like that. The reason for this is because this is to represent the silence. Obviously there's a longer silence at the beginning of the audio file. So the way that we can get around this to find the beginning of the wave file is to click on this button here, zoom level, and as we can see straight away we can get this waveform at the end of the display here. So if I now click it again and again, as we can see, each time that I click the button the zoom level pulls out a little bit further. Now that time that I clicked it didn't actually move, and the reason for this is because the next time I do click we can see that it jumps to the highest level of zoom. So next thing you want to do is to create a cue point so that as soon as you start playing it starts from that position. So the start position within this display is this red line here, which we can see in red, says playhead. And the way to create a cue point is by moving the mouse into the display area, moving the cursor, which as you can see is in the sort of form of letter I, and when I click a yellow line is created. So to actually now we've identified the cue point and created it, we want to actually move the cue point to the playhead so that when we start playing that the audio is started from this position. So the way to do that is click cue point. So start looking at some of these functions. We'll leave some of these for a second. which relate to these functions here. This function here, channel A, is QA and QB, and this relates to the headphones. So whether it's assigned to QA or QB, which we'll cover later. Here is a play pause option, which is fairly self-explanatory. We have the turntable mode, turntable option, which is currently selected for the pitch mode. Select this and we get time stretch. The difference between the two options is in turntable mode, if we increase the pitch speed, which is this slider here, and decrease the play speed. As we increase the play speed, the pitch will increase, and as we decrease the play speed, the pitch of the audio will also decrease. If the pitch mode is on time stretch, the original pitch of the audio is recognized, so as we increase the play speed and the tempo of the music, it will retain, or try to retain as close as possible, the original pitch. This also applies if we reduce the play speed as well. Here we have an option for play direction, so if we press play, we can see the waveform moving. Just as a quick aside, whilst the waveform is moving, we can still click out on the zoom level so we can see the audio moving, so we can see what's coming ahead. By clicking forward on the play direction, we can see now that the waveform is moving in the opposite direction. There you go. Over here we have the nudge function, so the forward, you click in there, and as long as you hold in the click, you can hear that the nudge will, the speed of the audio being played back will increase slightly for as long as you hold the mouse down. And the same applies with back. If you click on back nudge, then the audio will slow down as the wave whilst the mouse button is clicked. So this is the basic principle for channel A. As we can see, it's the same for channel B. We have the same options, except obviously channel B is assigned QB at the moment. This can be selected, as you can see. So the same functions across here, except the play speed is now on the right hand side, as said earlier. So this is the basic formula for the rest of the functions. Having learnt the functions for channel A and understanding that these are the same for channel B, the next thing to look at is the section called Loop 1. Now looking at the bottom here, we can see that we've got very similar functions to what was in channel A, except we've now got one for loop mode. Loop on and loop off. Obviously if it's loop off, it will just play the audio that's in the waveform display here. The once loop on will cause the waveform, the audio in the waveform display here to then play continuously. On the right hand side here we have the volume with 2 VU meters so that we can see the level of the audio source, and underneath we have our headphones section. We have an option to queue, so we can listen to the audio source, and we can assign this audio source to queue A or B of the headphones section, which we'll look at later. To get some audio into the loop area, we can select on the open audio file here. Once we've done some editing on any waveform that's in there, we can then save the file like so in any format, as you can see here. And we've also got a crop selection. So this brings us on to the next part. So we've got this function here called loop copy and delete, and here we have loop 1 and loop 2, and these are the loop destinations, clearly identified by the fact they're called loops, and also by clicking on these we can see it actually deletes the contents of the loop as well. So how do you get a selection into the waveform? So the way to do this, we'll just drag audio track into the file there so you can see this function works. If you want to do this quickly during the performance, you can just click there so we know we've got a little bit extra than we need. Just go through a couple of zoom levels, and now what we can do is just drag the mouse across like so, a little bit extra. Obviously we want to click copy to loop 1, so we say loop 1, that's the destination, and then we're going to copy from channel A, and we can see that we have the area there. Now if you want to create a selection, that's fine. If you need to then go back to the cue point, that's also fine. The computer will remember the selection that you've last made. So moving into this area now, we'll just have a look at some of these functions more closely. Now we can use those. So the first function I'm going to look at is the zoom move waveform. So first of all, we'll just drag the mouse down, the cursor down, so that we can see where the waveform begins. And now we find that, we can just click on the cue. Using the select button, we can select the beginning of that zero crossing there to prevent any clicks. Now we'll click back on this function here for the zoom move waveform and zoom out. Drag the cursor to the left to move the waveform, and then we can pull the waveform down here and see that the drum begins roughly around here. So now we click select to actually create a selection. If I was to select here now, then that would actually just create a new cue point. So to actually make a selection from the cue point that we created earlier, you click on the left, you click on the shift on the keyboard before clicking the left mouse button, and as we can see now, we get a yellow line coming across. Just zoom out to make sure we're happy with our selection, which we are. So now if I click on crop selection, it automatically reduces the audio that was in originally down to the size within the selection. So now we have this, we can press play, see we've got the looping on, turn it off. If we've got looping off, if we just press once, we can see the DU meters only play the once.